At brunch, my nephew smirked and said, "Mom says you're just the family wallet." My sister snorted, "Kids say the funniest things." I just left with my kid. That night, Dad texted, "Don't forget to send $800 tomorrow." I replied, "Not anymore." The next morning, one notification hit, and the group chat went dead silent. I never liked brunch. It always felt like a meal for people pretending their lives were going better than they were. Still, I agreed to go that Sunday because my sister begged me. She said the kids hadn't seen their cousin in a while and that she could really use some normalcy. The place was called Honey's Table. It had pastel cushions, overpriced pancakes, and those little mason jar drinks everyone takes pictures of. My sister picked it. She always did this thing where she acted like we were equals. Like we both had choices, both had incomes, both had lives that worked. But she hadn't worked in years. Her husband took off 5 years ago, disappeared in the middle of the night, left her with 2 kids and no job and a lease she couldn't afford. Our parents were too busy with their second lives to care. Dad's golf tournaments, Mom's book clubs and cruises. So I stepped in. Rent, groceries, kids' clothes, school fees. It all quietly came from me. And every time I thought about pulling back, I reminded myself they were family. What else was I supposed to do? That Sunday, I paid for the Uber to the restaurant, then covered the full bill before we even sat down. My sister's oldest, Lucas, 11 going on arrogant, ordered steak and eggs like it was a regular Tuesday. Her youngest was throwing crayons across the table. Lily, my daughter, just sat there drawing quietly as she always does. Halfway through the meal, while I was talking to Lily about her upcoming field trip, Lucas interrupted me. He had that smirk kids get when they know something adults don't think they know. "Mom says you're just the family wallet." He said it like he was sharing a fun fact. Like he was letting me in on some inside joke. I looked at my sister. She didn't flinch. She actually laughed. "Kids say the funniest things." I didn't say a word. I just folded my napkin, grabbed Lily's backpack and said we were going. I didn't offer a ride. I didn't look back. That night, after I'd put Lily to bed and was sitting with a heating pad on my back, I got a text from Dad. "Don't forget to send $800 tomorrow. Your sister said the rent's due." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "Not anymore." I turned off my phone after that. The next morning, when I finally turned it back on, there was a notification waiting for me. From the family group chat. Family First. I'd renamed it that a year ago when my sister asked me to pay for Lucas's braces, and I wanted to remind everyone what we were supposed to be about. I opened the message. I had removed myself from the chat. But not before dropping a final note. A screenshot of the brunch receipt. A total of $168.74. Below it, a message. "Kids say the funniest things. Guess I'll stop being funny." Then I left the chat. There wasn't a single reply. Not from my sister, not from Dad, not even from Mom. And she was usually the first to send 3 question marks when someone left the chat. The silence wasn't just passive. It was loaded. The next 2 days were quiet. No texts. No missed calls. Then the calls started. First from my mom. Then from my dad. I didn't answer either. They didn't leave voicemails. By Thursday, my sister sent a long text, pretending like nothing had happened. Asking if I could send $50, just until Friday. Said she needed gas. I didn't answer. On Saturday, she sent a photo of Lucas holding a cardboard sign at a school fundraiser. The caption said, "He wants to earn his own money now. Proud of him." It took everything in me not to reply, "He should start by doing chores around your house." But I didn't reply. I'd already said everything I needed to. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Something had cracked open. I kept the machine running for too long, and now they were about to see what happened when I took my hand off the lever. By the second week, the cracks started to show. Lily came home from my parents' house with one of those offhand comments kids make when they think they're just sharing something small. Lucas and his sister are sleeping in the living room now. Mommy said they had to pack their stuff. I didn't react. Just nodded and got her ready for bed. But I knew what it meant. The rent hadn't been paid. They were getting kicked out. The next morning, I got the confirmation. Not from my sister, of course, but from my mom. She called and started the conversation like she was catching up, but I could hear where it was going from the first 30 seconds. "Your sister's moving back in for a bit. Just until she figures things out. I told her she has 1 month here, that's it. Just thought you should know. Oh, and if you want to help with movers or storage, she'd appreciate it." I told her I wouldn't be helping with anything. She didn't argue. Just gave one of her usual drawn-out sighs and said, "I hope this isn't about brunch." It wasn't. It was about everything that came before it. Every time I bailed her out, every time she made her mess my problem, every time she acted like my help was owed, not given. That brunch just pulled the curtain back. It showed me that even her own kids saw me as nothing more than a walking bank account. And she didn't care. A few hours later, my sister texted, So you're really gonna let your nephew and niece sleep on a fold-out couch at mom and dad's? No punctuation. No apology. Just that sentence. I didn't respond. She followed up with a second one. Don't worry. I know you love to play tough. Cute. I blocked her number after that. The silence held for a few days until I got tagged in one of her Instagram stories. A blurry photo of her feet on the sand with the caption, "Still standing." No context. Just her way of telling the world she was unbothered. Almost made me laugh. She had no car, no job, and now no home. But she was still keeping up the image. That had always been her priority. Even when she couldn't afford diapers, she made sure her eyebrows were microbladed. On the 5th day, she called from a different number. I let it ring. Then I stared at the voicemail icon until I finally gave in and played it. He sounded tired. Not dramatic. Just tired. Said she didn't know what to do. That the kids were confused. That maybe she should leave the state and start fresh somewhere new. I didn't feel sorry for her, but I didn't feel angry either. It was like watching a train finally stop after years of running on fumes. I called her back. No lectures. No, I told you so. I just said one thing. You need a job. She started listing reasons she couldn't. The kids. No degree. No help. No options. I let her get it all out. Then I told her I wasn't giving her money, but I'd help her figure it out. She didn't argue. Just said okay. The next morning I sent her 6 job listings. 3 retail. 1 babysitting. 1 remote customer service job. And 1 at a local daycare which came with discounted childcare if she got hired. She left me on read. That night I followed up with a short message. You want to get out of this, here's your start. But I'm not carrying you anymore. She applied. A week later she got hired part-time at the call center job. Said she hated it. That the chairs were cheap and the customers rude. That her manager was 24. But she kept going. Because for once there was no safety net. No fallback. Just the slow hard climb. And for the first time since her husband walked out, she was finally learning what that meant. By the 3rd week of her job the texts started to change. They weren't dramatic or passive-aggressive like before. No guilt-tripping. No backhanded comments. Just short, unsure questions from someone realizing how much they didn't know. What's CW for? Do I need to buy my own headset? Is it normal to be this tired? The kind of questions you only ask when you've gone too long coasting and suddenly have to start pedaling. I answered each one even when they made me roll my eyes. But I didn't send money. Not when she said she was down to 1 tank of gas. Not when she hinted that her first paycheck wouldn't come for 2 more weeks. Not even when she said Lucas was growing out of his sneakers and the school was making comments. Instead, I offered to drop off a few groceries or take the kids shoe shopping myself. She said no. Said she didn't want pity handouts. That part of her was still intact. The part that cared more about appearances than solutions. So I sent a grocery delivery anyway. Basic stuff. Rice, bread, fruit, cereal, eggs, milk, pasta, peanut butter, frozen chicken. Everything that could stretch across a dozen cheap meals. No note, no text, just the delivery confirmation email. She responded half an hour later. You didn't have to. I didn't reply. Because the truth was I did. Not for her. For the kids. For the part of me that still cared even when I didn't want to. Later that night she texted again. Lucas just said thank you for the grapes. I forgot how much he loves them. That was the first message from her that didn't sound like a performance. That week something started shifting. She made it to every shift. Even when she was late picking up the kids and had to bring them to my parents' house in a panic. Even when she came home limping and too tired to speak. Even when Lucas got detention for talking back to a teacher, and she had to miss an hour of work to meet with the principal. She still went in the next morning. She texted me updates not because she needed help but because she wanted to share something. She wanted me to see it. Got 3 positive calls today. My supervisor said I have a reassuring phone voice. Lucas apologized for how he acted last month. He said he didn't realize how much I was doing. Found a free desk on Facebook Marketplace. Just cleaned it up. Looks brand new. The kids love it. They were small wins but they were hers. They weren't bought with my paycheck. They were earned. Then something strange happened. My dad called me. I answered out of curiosity, not obligation. He sounded quieter than usual. Said, I think your sister's actually turning a corner. I said, yeah, she is. He waited a beat like he was about to ask if I was going to help out now that she was trying. But I didn't fill the silence. I let it sit. Because this wasn't about helping anymore. This was about her learning to carry herself, even when it hurt. The following weekend I stopped by my parents' house to pick up Lily. My sister was there. She didn't say much, just nodded. Her kids were watching TV on the floor, surrounded by their backpacks and a few plastic bins. It looked temporary. It was temporary. That night my mom sent a message. Your sister's moving out next Friday. Found a small apartment near her work. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't believe it. I did. But because I hadn't expected it to happen so soon. Then she texted again. She said to tell you thank you. And she'll call when she's ready. I didn't respond. Just closed the chat and went to bed. Because this time I wasn't waiting for a thank you. I didn't need recognition. I'd already gotten what I wanted. A sister who was finally learning how to live without leaning on me. She moved out on a Friday when the sky looked like it hadn't slept in days. I didn't help her pack. Didn't text to ask if she needed boxes or a ride. I just let the day pass like any other. My mom sent a picture of the moving van parked crooked in the driveway with the caption, "It's official." That was all I knew. The apartment she found was a one-bedroom split into two with a tension rod and a sheet. She told my mom she was fine with it because the kids just needed a roof and she just needed quiet. It wasn't in a great neighborhood, but it was walking distance from her job, and the rent didn't eat every penny she made. I figured she'd make it work. She had no other choice now. 3 days later, Lily's school called. I was making dinner, phone wedged between my shoulder and cheek, when the secretary said the words that made me drop the spatula. Lucas was caught breaking into the school kitchen. Not vandalizing. Not starting fights. Just opening cabinets. Looking through drawers. The janitor found him crouched behind a rolling cart, stuffing juice boxes into his backpack. He told them I was his emergency contact. Not my sister. Me. I drove over with every emotion fighting for first place. Anger. Worry. Embarrassment. Confusion. Lucas was sitting in the front office like a deflated balloon, hoodie pulled over his head, backpack on the floor. He didn't even look up when I walked in. The principal told me they weren't going to involve the police. The school had a policy for situations like this. Quiet compassion dressed as discipline. He'd served 2 days of in-school suspension and mandatory counseling. But that's not what stuck with me. What stuck was when the counselor handed me the contents of his bag. 3 juice boxes, 2 cereal bars, and a sealed plastic cup of applesauce. That's what he risked everything for. I took him to the apartment without speaking. It was smaller than I imagined. The curtains were towels nailed to the walls. There was a couch with no legs, a coffee table made from stacked milk crates, and one small lamp that flickered like it had commitment issues. My sister wasn't home. Lucas unlocked the door with a key on a shoelace. He let me in like someone letting a stranger into their problem. I asked when he'd last eaten something that wasn't a school lunch. He shrugged. Said his mom worked late and there was food, just not always stuff he liked. I asked if he was hungry now. He nodded. The fridge had 1 egg. A jar of mustard. 2 tortillas. An open bag of shredded cheese. Nothing else. I didn't say anything. Just turned and walked back out. He followed without a word. We went to the store and filled a cart. Not with junk. Real food. Chicken. Rice. Apples. Bread. Snacks for the kids. A rotisserie chicken to eat that night. On the drive back he asked me if I hated them. I said no. I said I just couldn't be the wallet anymore. He didn't respond. When I dropped him off he asked if he could hug me. Later that night my sister called. Her voice was thin, like she was trying not to cry but didn't have the energy to fake strength. She said she'd picked up 2 extra shifts. That she didn't know Lucas was skipping dinner. That she was doing everything she could and still felt like she was failing. I told her the truth. You're not failing. You're just facing the part no one ever talks about. The part where everything sucks before it gets better. There was a long silence, then she said something I hadn't heard from her in years. I'm sorry. And this time it didn't feel like a strategy. It felt like surrender. The next day she sent a photo of the kids eating dinner. The table was still the fold-up one, but now it had placemats. The caption read, "First meal with the lights on and a fridge that makes noise." I saved the photo. Not because it was cute, but because it was real. That week, Lucas started helping out around the apartment. He started walking his little sister to school and making sandwiches in the morning. She said he even taped up a chore chart on the fridge with duct tape and a crayon. She texted, "He's growing up too fast." I replied, "No. He's just stepping into a place he was never supposed to be in the first place." Then I said something I hadn't planned on. "Let me know if you want help making a budget. Not money. Just help." She didn't answer right away. But when she did it was just one word. Please. Something was shifting. Not fast, not pretty, but real. And for the first time in years my sister wasn't looking for a shortcut. She was finally taking the stairs. It had been just over a month since Lucas was caught trying to sneak food out of the school cafeteria, and something in our family's orbit had tilted. Not in a way anyone would notice from the outside. But I could feel it. Like when a door you thought was stuck finally creaks open. It's not wide yet, just enough to let in a little light. My sister had stopped complaining. Completely. No more texts about how tired she was or how unfair everything felt. Instead, she started asking questions. Real ones. The kind that people ask when they're actually trying to figure things out and not just fishing for pity. What's the difference between a debit transaction and a pending hold? Is it better to buy a microwave now or wait for a sale? How do I avoid overdraft fees if my paycheck hits late? I answered them all. I didn't coddle her and I didn't throw in money between explanations. I think she knew by now not to ask for it. She wasn't testing my boundaries anymore. She was trying to build her own. One evening she texted and asked if I was home. 15 minutes later she was on my doorstep with a bag full of receipts, a torn notebook, and a pen that kept clicking shut every time she tried to write. She dumped everything onto my kitchen table like someone trying to solve a mystery with clues she barely understood. We went through her last 2 paychecks. Broke down her rent, utilities, bus fare, groceries, phone bill. She'd never looked at her spending like that before. She'd just reacted to whatever crisis showed up that week, hoping the next paycheck would fix it. I showed her how to make a basic budget. How to create categories. How to look ahead instead of constantly scrambling to fix the past. At one point she looked up and said, "How did you learn all this?" I shrugged. Because I had to. She didn't say anything after that. But she wrote everything down. The next surprise came 3 days later. Lucas called me. Not my sister, Lucas. He asked if he could come over to talk. Just him. I said yes without hesitation even though I wasn't sure what to expect. When he arrived, he stood in the hallway like he wasn't sure he belonged. I told him to come in and he sat on the edge of the couch like he was bracing himself. He told me he was sorry. For what he said at brunch. For calling me the family wallet. For repeating things his mom said without understanding them. Then he said something that hit me harder than I expected. I thought you just had money because you were lucky. But you weren't lucky. You were alone. And you still helped us anyway. I didn't cry, but I felt something sharp catch in my throat. He didn't have to say all that. No one told him to. He was growing up and not in the way kids do when they get taller. He was waking up. He stayed for dinner. Helped Lily clean up. Talked about school like a kid who had something to look forward to again. When he left he said, "Thanks for still talking to me," and gave me a hug. That weekend my sister sent me a photo of their apartment. The kids were sitting on a faded blue rug eating popcorn out of a mixing bowl, watching a cartoon on a tiny TV that looked like it had lived 3 lives already. The floor was still bare and the walls were still empty. But the room felt full. She wrote, "It's not much. But it's ours." I replied, "It's a start." Then she sent one more message. "Thank you for everything. Especially the silence. I needed that more than I realized." I didn't know what to say so I didn't say anything. I just saved the photo. Because this wasn't a rescue story anymore. This was a rebuild. And for the first time since her husband left, she was finally doing the building herself. It happened quietly. No announcement. No big emotional scene. Just a photo my sister sent one Saturday morning. A plain brown welcome mat, a potted plant next to the door, and the number 3B in silver metal above the peephole. Her message said, "We're in." Lease signed. Keys in hand. She'd moved again, but this time not out of desperation. This time it was by choice. The apartment wasn't big. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a balcony the size of a closet. But it was real. No more sheet dividers or fold-up tables. She'd signed the lease under her own name with pay stubs and references she earned herself. The second photo she sent was of the kids sitting on a small gray couch, each with their own throw blanket. They were smiling. Like real smiles, not the polite ones you do when someone says, "Say cheese." This was different. This was theirs. She wrote, "Still figuring things out. But I think I'm starting to breathe." I stared at the photos for a long time. This was the same sister who once said budgeting was a scam, who once borrowed money to buy LED sneakers for her kid while I was skipping takeout to cover her rent. The same sister who laughed when her son called me the family wallet, then tried to play it off like it was nothing. But that woman was gone. Or maybe she'd just been buried under years of avoidance and excuses. Either way, what stood in her place now was someone I barely recognized, and finally respected. Later that week she invited me and Lily over for dinner. I wasn't sure what to expect but I said yes. When we walked in the place smelled like garlic bread and something that had probably burned a little. There were still boxes in the corner and the TV was sitting on a plastic bin, but she had set the table. Real plates, mismatched forks, paper napkins folded in triangles like she was trying. She hugged me at the door. Not the awkward, quick kind we used to do to keep up appearances. This was a real one. No words. Just understanding. During dinner the kids talked nonstop. About school, about the neighbor's cat, about how they were going to paint their room blue and purple. Lucas didn't mention the past once. He asked Lily if she wanted to stay over sometime. Said he'd clear space in the closet for her backpack. After dessert, boxed brownies that somehow still tasted like an apology. My sister asked me to stay behind for a second. The kids went to the balcony and she sat across from me at the table. She didn't start with excuses. She didn't explain away the past. She said, I know I messed up. For a long time. I made you the safety net, then got mad at you for being tired. I blamed you for the pressure I created. I let Lucas treat you like an ATM. And I let myself believe that if I just ignored things long enough, you'd keep fixing them. She looked at me for a moment, then added, Thank you for cutting me off. I needed it more than I ever knew. I didn't say much. Just nodded. Then Lucas came back inside and, to my surprise, stood next to the table and said he wanted to say something too. He looked down at the floor the entire time. I'm sorry for what I said at brunch. I was just repeating stuff. I didn't know what it meant. But I know now. You helped us when you didn't have to. And I want you to know. I don't think of you like that anymore. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't perfect. But it was honest. I hugged him, and for the first time I felt like we were actually related. Not just by blood but by something real. We left that night with leftovers packed in foil and Lily already planning their next visit. As I drove home I realized something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not because everything was fixed. But because for once I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I wasn't bracing myself for the next call, the next emergency, the next emotional ransom. She had found her footing. And she was using it to stand, not to lean. This wasn't a perfect ending. But it was a new beginning. And this time it belonged to her. The update. It's been about 7 months since that night at my sister's new apartment. The night she finally sat across from me and said the words I never thought I'd hear. Since then things have been steady. And I've learned that sometimes, steady is more powerful than any dramatic turning point. She's still at the call center, but now she's full-time. She got a promotion 2 months ago. Team lead for the late shift. It doesn't pay much more, but the hours are better, and she says she doesn't dread going anymore. I believed her when she said it. Lucas joined a robotics club at school. He sends me videos now. Little projects he's working on, tiny machines made from old toys and wires. He even asked if I could help him apply for a summer program. I said I'd help him write the essay. He wrote the first draft without being told. The younger one's in dance classes now. My sister found a local community center that offers them free if you volunteer. So she helps clean up on Saturdays and watches the other kids when their parents can't make it. That's the part that really got me. She didn't just find a solution, she showed up for it. The apartment? Still small, still loud from the neighbors, still kind of lopsided with furniture that doesn't match. But the kids each have beds now. Real ones. She painted their room like she promised. Blue and purple. One wall is covered in drawings and school awards. She still asks me for help, but not money. Questions about school forms, job paperwork, even what kind of rice cooker to buy. It's the kind of help I want to give now. A few weeks ago she texted me something simple just out of the blue. Still climbing. Still grateful. That's it. But that one line said more than anything I've heard from her in years. So yeah, no big drama. No new crisis. Just something better. She's building a life now. And for the first time I'm just watching, not holding it up.